He's one of 5 players to have scored 150 points in the National Hockey League in the regular season and one of 8 players to score 70 goals. What a pleasure it is to welcome none other than Bernie Nichols to the show. Sporting an LA Kings toque on top of that. Great to welcome you to the show. Bernie, thanks for taking the time.
Oh, my pleasure.
Bernie, I want to talk to you about your 150-point season. There's no doubt it was a high point of your career. When you look back on it now, does it get better with time, especially considering how hard it is to break the 100-point plateau in the National Hockey League?
Well, I think so. You know, I think you have a better understanding how difficult it really was. Going through it, obviously playing, it was so much fun. Scoring every night, it just seemed like so. And not too many at that, and that they can't even get close to it today. So I think as time goes, it even makes it that much better.
Obviously, there's been huge changes in between the 80s and 90s, and you had a chance of playing with Wayne Gretzky side by side. I'm sure a lot of people ask you how it was, and a lot of players will take for granted the nucleus, the team that they had during great years. When looking back at the time that you spent with Wayne Gretzky, how special was it?
Well, it's probably just like everybody could imagine. Anybody who's played hockey before, if they can imagine having the opportunity to play with Wayne, that's what it was. It was. It's so tough to explain because it was amazing, obviously, you know. And the cool thing is for me is I hung with Wayne every day. When we every road trip, Wayne would take me out to dinner after lunch or after practice. We'd go for lunch, and I was like Wayne's shadow for a year, and it was every bit as good as you can imagine.
Well, there's been huge changes, as I mentioned, between the 80s and 90s, especially when it comes to concussions. Early on the show, we were talking about the attitude towards concussions. Do you agree with the fact that there's more concussions now than in the past, or is it just that the attitude has changed, or maybe the attention put on them has changed as well?
Oh, there's not more now than there was in the past. They just didn't ever say it was a concussion before.
There was more ice packs, right?
Wow, I've seen guys get knocked out. I've seen guys get hit, and you get the smelling salts out, you know, count to 3, whatever, and then all of a sudden they put them back in, and you know, for them they're doing it right now. You get a knock in the head, you go to the quiet zone. You gotta pass a test to get back in it. It's the way it should be. Unfortunately for us, we didn't have that back then, and you know, to me, shame on them for that because doctors should have known that. You know what, the guy get hit in the head, chances are good he's got a little concussion and he should be sitting out until he's better. And we never had that. You know, they do now, which is great.
As a player, do you put the responsibility of that decision-making on the player, on the training facility, on the trainers, the coach, the organization? Where do you put the responsibility to make that call, knowing what you know today?
Yeah, well, obviously you got to put it on the doctors, and that goes through trainers to the doctors. You know, look what they're doing now. Like I said, they got it right now. They got it right in football. They got it right in hockey. You get a knock in the head, you're right to the dressing room. No questions asked. You go to a quiet room. You got to pass a test, a concussion test, before you can come back out in the ice. So obviously the doctors, the league have come up with that. And so, you know, as players, we just want to play. We don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I get hit in the head. I don't know, you know, what's going to happen with that. Obviously, I'm a little woozy, but if I have someone say I'm okay to play, I'm going to play. But if you have someone that says you can't play, then you can't play. And that's the way it is now. And like I said, they've got it right now, but they didn't have it right for us. You take a
look at social media in today's era and some of the things that you didn't have in the 80s and 90s and the squeaky clean images that some of the superstars used to have back in the day. Do you think that some of these players would have that image, knowing the possibility of social media, if it would have been around during the era that you were playing in?
Oh, there's no chance. You know, you see now with the cell phones, you get things on YouTube and on Facebook or Twitter right now of guys, you know, the squeaky clean guys that you'd least think they were are out. And, yeah, it's unbelievable now what's going on. You think you're at a private party with just your friends, and all of a sudden you're on Twitter or something like that. So absolutely, the way it is now with the phones and social media, boy, back in the day, there'd be a lot of people that'd be probably a little nervous right now.
There's no doubt there's a couple of books coming down the line of some players sharing their stories. But you've actually you've turned it out in a positive with a brand new app, which I'm sure you're really excited to talk about. We're excited to talk about it as well. You know, back as a kid, I remember once a month the Beckett would be released, and that would be sort of our go-to guide for the value of hockey players. You, my friend, are taking it to a whole new level with sort of a stock market for hockey players. Talk to us about this app, how it came about, and the reaction that you've gotten from players and fans across the world.
Well, I think it came about a few years ago. My cousin had asked me if I would help out because obviously the nuts and bolts of it, it wasn't me, but to open it up to the sports world, I could do that. And basically, it's no different than the U.S. stock market. And you know, the thing is, there's only one professional team in that is a publicly traded company, and that's the Green Bay Packers. So, you know, there's hundreds of fans in Green Bay that maybe have $100 share in the Green Bay Packers, but
Wow.
they have a share in the Green Bay Packers. So, what we've come up with an app. It's asmfree.com, and it's all free right now. You just download it. You get $2,500 of free money to play with, and you can go out and you can invest in your favorite team, whether it's
speculate, right?
Sure. Whether it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal Canadiens, the Denver Broncos.
Not too sure I put any money on the Leafs these days. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's true. But the cool thing is, it's also if you're it's not gambling, but if you like to think of a team that is going to be successful, maybe the New York Rangers have a homestand and you feel like they're going to win all 5 games. Well, you can buy shares in that team. Every time your team wins, you get paid dividends on every win. So every shareholder will get paid a dividend on every win. So you get action if you want the action. It's not gambling because if your team loses, you don't lose your money, but it's investing. So the app's amazing. And, you know, I don't know any sports fan out there that wouldn't want a piece of their favorite team, whatever it may be. Just own a $10 share, a $100 share in your favorite team.
We'll absolutely be covering the app and any kind of new feature that you have. Come on back to the show. We want to learn all about it. We obviously encourage you and the app. And it's such a great concept. And you're right. Regardless of sports, regardless of what type of fan you are, there's always a need to be able to speculate a little bit, have a little bit of fun, and follow that gut feeling. So congratulations on that app. Right before we let you go, Bernie, as always, we like to have a little bit of fun with our guests with a rapid fire segment. I'll ask you a series of questions, and you just let me know the first thing that comes to mind. Ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that 8 players scored 70 goals. Can you name the other 7 except for yourself?
Gretzky, Lemieux, Hull, Esposito, Solani, McGillney. How many is that?
That's, yeah, you got 7. You got one more. 6. You're missing one more. He played for Edmonton. A little hint.
Curry.
There you go. There it is. If you hadn't become a hockey player, fill in the blank, you would have become a...
I played a lot of baseball when I was younger, so say baseball player.
Greatest tough guy you've ever either taken a body check from or got into a fist fight with?
Well, my toughest competitor was Mark Messier.
And last but not least, the biggest difference style-wise in between Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux.
Paul Coffey probably said it right. They asked Paul Coffey who was the greatest player ever, and he said, how did he put it? Wayne Gretzky was the greatest, and Mario Lemieux had the most talent.
As far as I'm concerned, you're the greatest hockey player. Thanks for taking the time, Bernie Nichols, and we look forward to seeing you and all the changes in your app. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll welcome you back soon.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Stay with us. My rant is up next. You don't want to go anywhere.